Check, check. All right. Of the limited handful of audience, can you all hear us? Yeah, it just makes it a little troublesome when the remaining 10 people in a sustainability forum also start sleeping, right? So all of you are there, happy, cheerly, thanks, because it's the classical story of sustainability and circular economy, right? We all think it's important. We all know it's important. But when it comes to the rubber meeting the road, here's what we get. Anyways, on that humorous note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Viswanath from Thornton, Bharat. And I have a great panel of young entrepreneurs, each of them doing fantastic things on sustainability, right? So I want to just keep a few facts up front. That sustainability is no longer is going to be restricted to textbooks and glossy magazines, right? The way the earth is moving, global warming, water, natural resources, I think it's time that we really sit up, notice sustainability in a far more serious way than we did before, right? I have some interesting stats. Now, nearly 60% of the non-fuel gas emissions apparently come from agricultural produce, right? Agricultural produce means poultry, animal husbandry, dairy farming, everything put together. So which means that it's not as though the food production is clean. It's not, unless we do something about it. Now, we also know that food and agri also cause a large amount of pollution in terms of chemical fertilizers, pesticides that we use, all right? And a startling fact, and all of us know this, globally, nearly 25% of the food that is produced in various forms is wasted, all right? Now, in India and all developing countries, it gets wasted in the back end, which means in the primary processing. But hey, hold on. It's not as though that Europe and US doesn't waste food. There, the wastages happen because of expiry dumping, right? So globally, I mean, that's a very interesting stat, that if we were to curtail wastages alone, we can perhaps feed 20% more of the population. Now, the second point I wanted to leave is globally, many businesses have started taking notice. I think 5 years ago, we would not have had a panel of 5, 10 entrepreneurs focusing on sustainably led businesses. And here is a stark example, which is very good. Congrats to all of you, right? And the third point, and this is something which I think all of us should be proud of, actually, India leads in actions around sustainability, actions around organic farming. So we are actually among the top. So it gives us a chip on our shoulder that, yes, India as a country, businesses in India, startup ecosystem in India, we are working in the right direction, right? So with that context, I'm going to open up the floor. And I'm going to start with just asking a very direct question, right? Obviously, I have gone through your websites, but why not all of you start by saying, what is sustainable about each one of your business model, right?
Okay, hello, I'm Swathi. So we actually take up sustainability in two different forms. To start with, as a product itself, we have a co-product, which is cloth diapers, which is a sustainable and an alternative to disposable diapers, which is the third largest dump in the landscapes, right? So that's something that we go into the co-product as a product itself. We have sustainability which is involved, and of course we have sustainable practices that follow, like what we produce and how we deliver it also has a lot of sustainable practices that we involve into it. For example, we have sustainable packaging to start with. We have cornstarch packaging. So there are every touch point where we want to deal with when it comes to our particular category, which is in fact not a very sustainable category, because a kid which is born within 2 weeks will not be wearing the same clothes, right? So we just want to have a product which is long lasting for most of our consumers. So that's one major thing that we do.
So is it working? Yeah. Okay. So what we do, in fact, I would say in entire production system of Truly Desi, it's sustainable. So what we do is we have our own farms of Gir cows. So whatever milk is being produced, that is being used to produce other byproducts, and then we sell it directly to the customers. And whatever cow dung and cow urine we get, we dump it into a biogas digester. We are creating biogas out of it. We are using it as a source of electricity as well as fuel at our farms. Another thing which we get out of it is liquid slurry. What we are doing is we are enriching that with good bacteria. We are using, we are making it into different forms, in solid forms, semi-liquid forms, liquid form, and we are using it in organic farming. So we are giving back these products to the farmers for organic farming. They are growing vegetables for us, and then we are buying back those vegetables from them. So in a way, we are trying to, complete the entire, circle where we are not actually disposing of anything which we are using, and at the same time, we are able to cut off our production cost by about 35%. So that's on the production end, and in the products, we keep on innovating our packaging. So last year we launched Kullad Dahi, which is dahi, which is which is set in a earthen pot made from terracotta clay. So it's a very, hot product for us right now. And now we have started another initiative where we are collecting back the plastic bags, which we give to our customers every day. The plastic bags of milk, plastic pouches of milk. So we're collecting that back from them, and then we are sending it back to the recyclers and recycling the packaging again. So these are the things which we are doing at the sustainability end.
I congratulate my panelists on doing such great work on sustainability, and thanks for the great question, Viswanath. Hi everybody, I'm Abhay. I'm the founder of One Good. We make vegan dairy products. Being vegan is inherently a little more sustainable than consuming dairy or animal products. So personally, as a practicing vegan, it's been about 12 years for me as well. And as a company, we make vegan milk, curd, butter, cheese, paneer, etc. My criticism of the vegan movement has always been that it's really expensive to be a vegan. Not necessarily because dal chawal is expensive, or it is simply that the alternatives that are in the market today are, for whatever reason, it could be supply side or demand side, not very affordable, and that was the reason why my mom and I started this business. But we realize it doesn't stop there, right? I mean, we can always say that vegan products are inherently more sustainable, but the truth is that in order to marry convenience or being available at your retail, at the retail checkpoint or delivering to your customer's doorstep, you must have to contend with the necessary evil that is packaging. So we've used Tetra Packs, for example. We use plastic tubs for our packaging. And we realized that we are complicit in this. Yes, on one side, we are more sustainable than dairy. But if we continue to rely on the same dairy supply chain to produce and distribute our products, we're never going to be fully sustainable, or at least fully is an ideal. 99% sustainable is a great way to get there. What we recently did is an attempt to try and break this idea that the dairy supply chain is what we must also follow for plant-based food. Inherently, plant-based milk is just a bunch of dry plant-based ingredients and water, which has been pasteurized, homogenized, mixed together, etc. We launched a plant-based milk recently at 59 rupees a liter, which is very, very low compared to the average benchmark of our own Tetra Pak milks, which are at 140 per liter. 59 was the price point we wanted to see because we don't want to wait for plant-based food to become affordable over time, which it will, but we want to see what can we do now to reduce the cost. And part of that was eliminating processing it over large distances. Currently, almost all, including us, until very recently for all our SKUs, we manufacture centrally and then transport it across large distances in plastic packaging to then deliver to the customer at the last mile. This is maybe true for cow's milk because when the milk comes out of the cow, it is liquid, but it doesn't have to be true for plant-based food. So we've set up local manufacturing plants nearby, and we wait until the last possible mile to convert that dry plant-based ingredient into a liquid. We've been able to avoid packaging in this way. I don't know how scalable this is, right? We're trying it in one pin code in Indranagar, and we're really seeing if this works. But should that work, I think it's one way to really move forward. If you really ask the consumer what they want, they will tell you convenience is what they want, and that is not necessarily the most sustainable answer anyway. So meeting them halfway or them meeting us halfway is probably a way forward. But until then, we probably will have to rely on existing supply chains to transport our products, which will always be inherently at some level unsustainable. But this is at least what we're trying to do on the sustainability side.
Hello. Hi. Hi guys, my name is Akash and we make milk from oats. So we make only one product right now and it's very simple. As Abhay said, it's water and oats and it's homogenized, it's pasteurized and it's packed. So the packaging is where we are very sustainable. We are the only plant-based milk company in India which does glass packaging. And I know it adds a bit of cost, but I feel that's what we add as a value to the consumer. That the mindset of the conservative Indian consumer is that glass bottle adds a value to that. And that's why we don't do a lot of packaging on the glass bottle. If you see the product we made, it's transparent. We are very transparent with our bottle. And even the label on the bottle is transparent. And we subsidize all the plastic we use for the label. And now, with glass bottles, obviously there's a lot of storing involved, there's a lot of breakage involved, and we absorb all of that. A lot of consumers came back to us and said, okay, we are your subscribers, now what do we do with the bottles? So that was a real problem. So what we did now, in Delhi starting, which we have already started, we bought machines for glass to sand. So now with all our B2B consumers, we are picking up the glass bottles and we are converting them into sand, which then again will be used to make glass bottles. So it's a circle economy of the bottle, which we have started in Delhi, which is going to replicate in all our warehouses across India, which are 30 now. And as Abhay said, plant-based milk is more sustainable than dairy, but again, it depends on what cost and what you are doing to actually be sustainable about it. So
it's wonderful to actually hear out each and every story that these guys have, which is brilliant. I think what all of you have been able to do is build a business which is sustainable from the ground up. Although मेरा वैसे वाला नहीं है. मेरा natural fiber industry में I am primarily in the natural fiber industry, which is a part of the textile industry. Textile industry is infamous in the entirety of the world to be a majority contributor to pollution in water, land, and soil. While we know that we are a part of this industry, I also have an understanding that we have to do something about this. What Reshamandi, the company that I come from, is we manage the supply chain of natural fibers for fibers like silk, cotton, jute, and wool. And we do this from the farm to fashion. So we have all of the stakeholders which can be possible from the raw material producing level to the final consumer level. In the process of doing all of this, we came to an understanding about the kind of wastages that are happening. One of the wastages that we got to know about when silkworms, if you know how silk is made, silkworms form cocoons. Cocoons are then boiled and then you get the yarn out of it. So when a worm, when the cocoon is boiled, the pupa inside is an insect which dies, which was considered to be a waste, an absolute garbage in the entirety of the industry. We studied about it, we got to know that this particular insect has the highest protein ratio in the entirety of the insects there is. What we did was we converted this particular insect, the dead insect, into a feed for the entirety of the animal feed industry, for the poultry feed industry, as well as for the fishery industry. While doing so, we understood कि हम लोगों ने soybean और anchovies इन दोनों products को replace किया है. Soybean is a product that you have to cultivate. You have to put in a lot of effort. You have to have a land space. You have to use water to be able to cultivate it. आपका सारा वो वाला काम वहाँ से गायब हो गया. Anchovies is a type of fish that is cultivated in the southern parts of America. वहाँ से you are to import the entirety of it. So the oil expenses that you are going to be spending on just for you to be able to get it transported to India, you fix all of that. And that is the kind of product that we have come up with. So the first product was the animal feed, the protein replacement that we have come up. And the second part, in the same industry that we got to know, not each and every cocoon is reelable. A few tons of cocoons go unfit for reeling. But cocoons ka primary, the structure is made of two proteins. One is fibroin and the other is sericin. Sericin is known to have anti-aging properties. what we did was we placed the plant, we drawed or we extracted the sericin out of it. We created our own cosmetics brand. It goes by the name Ceriskin, and that is a brand that is also now live there. So these are the two sustainable products that we brought in a supply chain for textile industry. So while we are not a company which is as yours, which is built on sustainable grounds, but we understood that we have a responsibility towards it, and we started developing something about it. So
that's fantastic because, as you rightly said, textile has its own set of challenges, right? Therefore, the first question, the follow-up question I want to ask each one of you is, Reshamandi, you would have, obviously, your products that you sell are more B2B, which means you went to other textile players or animal feed players. Most of you are doing B2C businesses. Let's talk about consumer acceptance, right? And we all know that acceptance, we do a lot of these surveys, from Grant Thornton. 80% of the people say, yes, they want to buy sustainability. But when we actually go and see their buying behavior, the buying carts, share of sustainable products is only 20% or 10%, right? So somewhere the intent doesn't match the transaction, and price seems to be one big determinant. So from a customer perspective, what are the challenges you people faced?
See, to start with, we actually have this motto that we are not selling a product, but we are selling sustainability as a lifestyle. Because cloth diapering itself is an entire process for a new parent to take up as a responsibility. There is, for example, if there is a disposable diaper which they are using, it's just going to be used and thrown, right? But it's not like that with cloth diapers. You will have to wash them, you will have to take care of them, you will have to maintain them. There's a slight amount of disgust which involves in this as well. So it's like the parent has to take that one step ahead into a sustainable lifestyle that they're taking, and they're creating for their children as well. And a child which is going to be like living on earth for about years to follow. So in 5 years ago, we had to have a lot of knowledge. We had to provide, we had to do a lot of workshops. We had to provide a lot of content to these mothers to explain to them that how important cloth diapering as a journey is. But right now, there's a lot of acceptance. Parents have opened up. There's a lot of knowledge around cloth diapering. There's a lot of knowledge around sustainability itself. And there are lots of brands out there also, especially in the fashion industry, that who's taking it up. There are brands which use, as Abhay mentioned, most of the time what happens is that the product is extremely sustainable, but the packaging that involves around it is not. So we know brands which actually send, package their products in newspapers. We know brands, I have interacted with them. That's the concept they're bringing out to be sustainable. So, and it is well accepted by consumers out there. So with my customer base, people are really parents, new age parents want to take that one step ahead. Of course, not 100%, but even 50% is great for me.
And I feel price point is one thing which, consumers look at what cost they are buying sustainability. So normally in our industry, it's typically 2x of what you get for a, good organic sustainable product. But I feel, the things are changing now. People are, have started caring more about their health, their routine, their habits, eating habits specifically. And earlier, we used to do a lot of awareness workshops, activities to gain, traction. But now I feel there is a good chunk of, customer base. There is a segment there, who really prefers sustainable products, specifically when it comes down to food. So but I feel price point is something where people always, they feel that it's slightly higher, or I feel it's 40-50% higher than what they normally get in the market. So yeah.
So in the industry we are in, and it could be, taking the broad animal product category, it could be poultry, eggs, meat, and dairy, and so on. I think in order to replace the incumbent, you need to beat the incumbent on price, taste, convenience, and nutrition. And today, I this is a criticism of my own company also. I don't think any single plant-based company across the world has achieved that, right? It is, but it's also important to take cognizance of the fact that it is an R&D problem, not necessarily a willingness problem, because the willingness has always been there. And I think large companies like Beyond Meat, etc., and Oatly, for example, and of course OatMlk as well, they're pushing the envelope on taste, price, convenience, and nutrition. In some could be doing all of it, some could be doing some of it. But frankly, the technology isn't there yet. But as like with everything, I think it's a matter of time, and it's a matter of being able to take the risks that may not necessarily make sense commercially. I think in today's what is perceived a low volume market, being at a certain price point or being available in certain channels is risky. But if you're not pushing that envelope, it will never move forward in that direction. So I think I want to make the distinction between businesses that exist in current channels and businesses that need to exist. And I think today there are a lot of businesses that need to exist that are doing that work. It's not there yet though. And I think the answer is close by, 1 or 2 years away. And we'll truly see 5 or 6 or 10 products in the market globally maybe that really have pushed the barrier on all these things. And only when all of this happens can you move forward. Because you can't ask people to switch to plant-based milk if it does not match the protein or the calcium that cow's milk provides, right? And even if one of these parameters is not met, if you're asking everybody to shop online only, you've excluded people. If you're asking people to consume it without the calcium, you've excluded people. If you're asking people to consume it at 200 rupees a liter, you've excluded people. So hard problem, but important to solve.
Thank you, Abhay. So as I want to agree to disagree with you over there, that I feel the consumers which we are targeting and the consumers at today's age, they put money where their mouth is. I mean, people are, when they see a quality product, they see a sustainable product, they do buy it. And I personally feel that the consumer insights are changing. With the more buying power and more, knowledge, consumer people are going for sustainable products. And the pricing part plays a part, but not to an extent when they feel that the product, the quality and everything is up to their mark, and they actually feel, okay, this is what I need. They do go for it. And with health being the first concern, and after Corona and all, I feel people are much more aware, and they are spending. Like the pockets are open now, and people should target that, and I feel the market is evolving. But yeah, as Abhay said, we need to be there at all the 4 channels, the pricing, the nutrition and everything. I feel we need to be there for sure, but it can be a priority list. I feel the sustainability as the top, the nutrition as there, and the pricing part also plays, but it depends on who you're targeting.
Kafi interesting perspectives. Okay, I mean, all of it is something that I will second. Although in my case, the industry is a little different. The kind of target audience that I'm talking about, or the kind of target audience that I'm catering to, is also different. Primarily, I see that you are catering to the consumers directly, versus what I'm catering to is the businesses. So, mere isme acceptance are played by primarily 2 parts. One is the cost, the second is the convenience. Cost wale part pe, I think we have fairly cracked it, because our costing is lower than soya bean. It is also lower than anchovies. The convenience part is where we have a problem. See, all of the B2B industries, their primary goal is to be lowering down their cost of production. क्योंकि उनको जहाँ पे profit बढ़ाना है, एक तो वो higher price पे बेचेंगे, नहीं तो cost of production कम करेंगे. Cost of production के लिए we had a solution, but the problem is their expectation is that they want to get the costs lowered from their existing vendors, because they have an entire ecosystem that is set up. Their establishment is very well established with the kind of producers, the suppliers that they have, the processes that they have implemented, the procedures that they are following, and the credit cycles that is already established. For a new person to come in, irrespective of the improvement in the costings that we are able to provide, but because we are challenging their entire establishment, that is where it creates a little bit of a trouble, which is something that we are trying to solve right now. So in the acceptance part, these are the 2 primary contributing factors to us.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point you made, right? We would assume that the average B2B buyer is driven by price-quality equation. It's easier to switch. But what you're saying is they have a certain ecosystem laid out.
Right. These are conventional businesses. 10 साल से चला रहे हैं पूरी फैक्ट्री, तो उनका पूरा सेटअप हुआ हुआ है. उसके बीच में मैं जाके बोलूँ मैं नया माल लेके आया हूँ, ये सस्ता है आपके लिए, ये ज़्यादा अच्छा है आपके लिए. लेकिन for them to be able to accept कि I have to change my entire establishment for that, it is little, yeah, it causes a lot of friction.
Right. The question to some of you other people, right? A lot of you, I assume, are selling online through your own websites or whatever. But what's the role that retailers play in promoting your products? Because be it modern trade with the reach that they have, or general trade, I mean, in your case, which can be even the small mom and pop textile fashion store, what's the role they play, and therefore what's the role that channel plays, like distributors, C&F agents? Do you see challenges there?
See, when it comes to our particular category, there's an entire niche product around organic cotton, right? So there's that everybody right now wants to, especially the new parents, want to buy organic cotton for their babies, in spite of knowing what it is, in spite of not, they don't even know what it is, but they just do we have a seal of organic? Okay, then I'm going to buy it. So it's, of course, from the consumer, they're going and asking a retailer that, no, this is not organic, I don't want this. So the retailer's definitely going to come and ask us, saying that, okay, are you guys organic? And they're ready to pay the price for it as well, like about 5 to 10 rupees extra. They're, of course, ready to pay. So that change is definitely visible, especially, of course, again at the at the distributor levels as well. So they are ready to pay for it. And see, again, it's all interlinked, because we were present on we were like 100% present only online before we started B2B supplies. So there were a lot of people who came to us saying that there are consumers who are looking at your product online and then coming and asking for it. So I want to keep this product and see, I want to keep it right next to disposable diapers and see how it is going to go. So there's a step from the retailer perspective as well. There are some of them who are not interested, of course, but there are a lot of them who are.
Yeah, so I mean, we are doing both D2C and modern retail. So modern retail has its own challenges. They have a big sign-up fee, which they call, and then they charge margins per SKU and everything. So normally, we tie up with Nature's Baskets and other premium retail chains because our products are a little more premium than what you get in the market. So suppose you get cow milk for about 50-60 rupees a liter in the market, but our cow milk is for about 90 rupees a liter. The price points, the margins are, specifically the margins are very similar to what other bigger brands are selling at. But it's the thing, retailers don't really understand why cow milk is so expensive. So first you need to make them understand that why is this milk expensive or more costly than what you're actually selling. And then they feel, iska market hai kya? Do people really buy this? So, there it has its own challenges, though I have never really interacted with distributors and I haven't got into that chain, the entire supply chain, super stockist, distributor, then retailer. But we deal with modern retailers, and specifically for branding purposes. We want to be seen everywhere, and that's why I guess we are at all the premium retail chains. But most of our sales, come from our own channels. So it's just an enabler kind of thing.
So my job, as I see it, is to answer only one question. If I were able to achieve those 4 parameters, price, taste, convenience, nutrition, will people switch or not? My hypothesis is yes. This whole business exercise is an activity to find out if it's yes or no. So I used to believe, I used to be a big bull of just being online. I was like, part of the consumer will skip the middleman. And then I realized like Facebook and Google are the middlemen now for D2C, because you have to pay money to acquire customers. And the money you're paying to acquire a single customer is a lot more than the margin you're giving to the retailer. So we ultimately had to step to retail. And now, we were 70-80% online. Now we're 40% online. A large amount of revenue is coming from HoReCa and retail for us. And my estimate is it'll probably be 90-95% offline. So I'm humbled, and I'm understanding the value of of retailers in the ecosystem. I do think my grouse is that, of course, payment terms, etc., are really hard. And the other challenge also is that the margins that they're charging dairy is not the same margins as they're charging you, whereas you're paying 30%, they may be paying 7, 8, 5%. And ultimately, the person who's going to be bearing the brunt of that is the consumer. So all these things are systemic barriers for us to being able to beat our incumbents, which is the dairy products, at their own game. But I would imagine it's a matter of time, volume, and maybe even political will.
So we personally love the distributors, the modern trade. Our 90% business comes from B2B, 95% to be exact. And I personally love them. It's great, like the modern trade, the distributors, and I'm gonna just add on to the last answer which I did. To be sustainable and the pricing part and everything, I believe you need to be there. If you're not there, you're not there. You're missing out. We are trying to build a community and a need of a product which is not needed in the market. People don't need it. People have alternatives, and we need to be there for them to actually be accessible to them. They're there. They're buying. Oh, they see a OatMlk bottle, they pick it up. If you're not there, you're not there. And that's what I feel. And currently, with our company, we have a distribution network in 30 to 32 cities of India where we have hubs made already, where our product goes and are there in those retail shops. Like, I'm sitting in Delhi, but my product is selling in a retail store in Coimbatore. You know, like, so that's where we get sales, you know, like where people actually are looking for a change. And if you're not there, you're not there. Like, that's what I feel, I mean.
So the next time I shop in Bombay, I'll look for your product.
You'll find it everywhere.
So while we don't do online D2C sales because that is not what our customers are, but we do have an online presence. It is important for us to raise awareness about the products. For any person who is looking for it, it is the first thing that they are going to do is do a Google search about it. So what we do or what we primarily use the online space is just to be able to generate awareness and point out these people to the distributors that they can eventually find their products at. So that's my use case of online.
Got it. No, I think it's interesting. So we have talked about consumer, right? There were different views. But the larger feeling I get is, look, there is definitely a section of consumers in India who know what sustainability is. They are willing to go that extra mile, be it in terms of taking effort, be it paying a little more. There is support in the channel, some distributors, retailers who are willing to stock, willing to ask. And in a B2B context, there is slightly more challenging because I think the conversion doesn't happen easy. Now I'm going to shift base from the front end to manufacturing, technology, experimentation, R&D, right? A lot of your products are perhaps iterated, innovated by your own self, right? With collaboration with whoever. What I want to ask is, how is that ecosystem in India, right? What are the challenges you faced when you wanted to do diapers, or when you wanted to do large-scale organic farming, or when you want to do plant-based milk? Take some of them through that journey.
Well, when it comes to the textile industry as such itself, it's not very sustainable, right? And that's where I think we have people like, Reshamandi, who's coming in to actually somehow regulate the entire supply chain. So it is not sustainable, but as far as we are concerned, like, we have our own manufacturing unit in Tirupur. So what I can do to make that, again, that one step as a founder is by creating right from him, like associating with brands like that, and also creating programs or cutting programs in which you have minimal wastages that's involved in taking this wastage and creating other recycled fabrics around with it. So for me, it's not about the bigger picture. It's about what I do in my own unit, and it's like one step at a time, right? Okay, if I'm doing this, there can be the one unit which is next to me who can be just looking at me and doing that. So it's a long way out. Like, it will take definitely it'll take some time, but yeah, we can just hope to just start that journey.
So, in our case, we started with milk and we realized selling just milk is not profitable. So then we thought that let's produce byproducts too. So we got into ghee, paneer, dahi. but I don't have a food tech background. So, and we wanted to, say ghee, so we make Bilona ghee. So I mean, 4 years back, there was no technology as such where you can actually make Bilona ghee, because it's a Vedic traditional process where you use, a wooden um, a piece of wood, and then you move it clockwise, anti-clockwise, and then you churn it, and you churn the curd, and then you get butter out of it, and then you cook it in a earthen pot. So there's no technology as such where you can do this easily. So it was very difficult for us to source the machineries and the raw material, because these things were traditionally used. They are not very common in today's world. And when we used to visit dairy and other manufacturing plants, people used to laugh at us that who makes ghee through Bilona and all this. So there were lots of challenges because we were not able to find the right machines. So later we thought that let's start developing these machines. So we got in touch with a couple of engineering companies, and then we explained them the design, what we really want, and then they designed the whole machine, and then they developed it for us, and we are using those machines right now. So of course there were challenges at the manufacturing end, and as far as the biogas plant and these things are concerned, so I mean, normally biogas plants are used to convert biogas into CNG. And it's a new industry which is coming up in Gujarat and Maharashtra both, because they both are, dairy producing states, and there are lots of cow dung in these states, and a lot of people have come up, companies have come up, they have built huge biogas plants where farmers can, sell their cow dung, and the cow dung is put in the biodigester, biogas is created out of it, methane is extracted, and then it's converted into CNG. So, and it's a new business altogether, business line altogether, which we want to get into, but not right now, maybe 5 years down the line in future. So, I mean, again, we had to deal with a lot of technological complications because infrastructure was not readily available. So we did a lot of R&D at our end, and now everything is tailor-made. So it's not very easy to copy by any of our competitors or maybe the players in the same market.
So I'm a first generation entrepreneur, and this meant that I didn't really know anything about food technology or manufacturing, basis your limited understanding of how the world works, we wanted to just put up a manufacturing plant ourselves and then do it. And then at that point, which was 5 years ago or something, this investor sentiment was like, why are you spending money on capex? Or why not just have an asset light model? We all know how that turned out. And we were like, okay, we'll contract manufacture everything. So, and then when you go to the manufacturer, they say, what's your formulation? You're like, I don't have a formulation. And any food scientist you go to say, there's good people, of course. There's great people everywhere, and we've had a lot of help on that. But the general idea was that there was a smoke screen around the formulation also. They're like, the answer is pasteurization, but they tell you, why don't you give this project to me? I'll think about it. You pay me a little fee, and then I'll tell you what to do. So at least, and then what I realized is most of the manufacturing around dairy or plant-based dairy is rather open source. You really know how dairy is manufactured. You pasteurize at the same temperature, homogenize at the same pressure, etc. You get the same product ultimately. So I actually, as a personal project, just open sourced all our manufacturing journey on Medium. So if you want to look it up, it's there. If you want to start a plant-based company, you just go to the Medium article and check it out. So, but once you know and are in the know, it's rather easy. The lines, and I would imagine this is true for Akash as well. They're really like dairy lines. So only the upstream may be a little different, but the downstream manufacturing is the same dairy plant. So it's not that hard to make, and I would imagine that's a good thing because we want more people in this space manufacturing and competing with us to push us a little further. So I don't imagine it's very hard once the ecosystem is a little more developed, and I think it is now. I think even in the last year alone, we've seen 10-15 plant-based milk brands come up, and a lot of them have set up their own manufacturing plants. And now we've set up our own manufacturing plants because ultimately, if you have outsourced things, you have to feed everybody, right? And if you're feeding your manufacturer, you're feeding your distributor, you're feeding your CNF agent, then ultimately your costs will balloon and so will your margins and the price a consumer pays. So we're trying to in-house everything now, and honestly, it hasn't been that hard, at least in today's manufacturing and machinery environment.
I mean, for us, it was very hard. I mean, so to this 1 year, 1.5 years, just to find someone who's ready to make oat milk. And they're like, what is it? Why do you want to make oat milk? Who will buy? And there were actually one plant we actually found. He's like, okay, I'll do it for you guys. To have the machinery in line and everything. And the MOQ which we needed when we were starting, we did not have a lot of confidence, right? How much will we sell? We don't know anything about it. So like, okay, we can't meet higher MOQs, right? The Tetra has a lot of high, absurd MOQs. Couldn't go there. So we found someone who was ready to help us, and now we're at a stage where we are putting our own manufacturing plant. And to add more sustainability to it, we have imported machines which use less fuel, less electricity and all. We're setting a much larger plant somewhere in India. We'll tell you guys once it's ready. And we are doing that, and it's going really well now. As Abhay said, the manufacturing industry itself is more aware now. People are ready to help. People are ready to put up plants, ready to put up machinery you need. But again, it's better to do it in-house, better to do it with yourself, have the control over the main part of your business, which is manufacturing.
In my case, I think I had just been fortunate. This was when Reshamandi ke initial days mein we were an agri-tech platform. We were primarily working with farmers and reelers. So I used to go through a lot of research material online. There was one video that I had seen which was about crickets and how this insect is supposed to save the world in the future. I thought it was very interesting, so I just kept on reading about some more research papers. That is where I came across silkworms. Silkworms happened to be twice the, basically in the source of protein, they had the ratio which was twice the amount of what crickets had. Then we were again fortunate enough to have farmers at scale. The time when I decided that we would want to experiment with this, we had almost 25,000 farmers who were working with us. So it was very easy for us to source, and it was easy, there was also, because these farmers were loyal to us, we had one of the farmers to experiment, try drying it out, see how the dried product comes out, and then we also gave it out to a fish feed producer. So it was very easy. That catfish naam ki fish hoti hai, you have to feed them. Instead of you feeding fish pellets, you just had to feed them. This was purely based on a research paper. And this person came to me a month later suggesting that this has worked wonders. And that was like the first product market fit for us. We had nothing. I mean, I did not have to install a production plant. We had no capex. But this is where we started, and that is eventually where we picked up. So it was just me being fortunate.
I'm going to now start this question with Abhay, because when you go through your website, you mentioned something called the quadruple bottom line, right? Found it a little different. So why not you talk us about it? And the follow-up question to each one of you is, are there certain unique metrics that you guys look at? I mean, leave the profits, leave the gross margin, leave the sales, leave the price per ton. That's fine. But any unique metrics, one metrics which you want to inspire?
Thanks, Viswanath. So the quadruple bottom line is simply an extension of the triple bottom line, which was that people, planet, and profits, right? And we were thinking, this is great. How can we include animals in this, right? Because ultimately, if we're a business measuring ourselves on the success of our impact, then the ecosystem that we are, I'm at least in this to further the cause of animal rights and animal welfare, and I've been an activist for a long time. So this is important to me personally, and important to a lot of the team members in our company and our investors as well. So we thought, how do we, it's important to measure what we're doing at least. And rather a disappointing fact that I came across is, even after selling lakhs and lakhs of liters of milk, we realized that one cow alone produces so much milk that we haven't really spared that many cow lives. If you were to even assume that the people who are consuming our products have replaced cow's milk, which is an assumption in itself, I'll grant it and still say that we haven't been saving or sparing rather those many cow lives. And I think it's an important metric because ultimately it also help us determine what products we want to service, right? And sort of we tried this experiment where we launched plant-based meat. Didn't quite work out for us given our brand and positioning, etc. But the idea there was to see, it is easier to help spare more hen lives or fish lives than it is to spare cow lives through the dairy industry, because the output is largely different. So it's one of those. It's an additional bottom line that we want to track. And anyway, the community is involved, the investors are involved, etc. Why not track it and see? And I think it also translates to other things, not just directly a function of your products right now. It could be, for example, on the sustainability side, we used to use, we make a product out of peanuts, and we didn't use all of the peanut before, and now we're using all of the peanut, right? This includes the, not the husk maybe, but other parts of the peanut that we ultimately discarded as pulp, which then we realized later when we sold it, went to the animal feed industry, and we were like, I don't know how I stand on that, because it's weird for us. So ultimately it led to sort of cascading effects on all the other bottom lines as well. So the quadruple bottom line is simply people, planet, animals, and profits. On the people side too, I think as a business that really wants to care, we're trying to do our best, right? Fair wages, insurance for everybody, other benefits on schooling, etc. This is important to us because simply we want to exist as a cost-based business, and it doesn't excite us to not do it. But it's been really a fun activity to track ourselves on all this and know where we're failing also, and we're failing on a lot of these things. I read of this thing called B Corp, which I think is a big movement that has not yet come to India, but there I think is 1 or 2 Indian companies that are now certified as B Corps. And I would love to see if we could be one of a B Corp one day. That'd be really cool.
Anyone else who has a unique metric?
We do have, so all the subscribers we have, we do not have a lot of them, but we do have a handful of them, and we email them every month about the water they have saved by buying our product compared to the dairy. So we do have a water metric where every bottle sold, we save around 300 liters of water, and so that is emailed to all the people who buy, and the amount of bottles they buy, that's the amount of water they save, because we assume that instead of buying dairy milk, they bought our milk. So that's why we assume that that's the amount of water they're saving.
So great, then I think we've had a great forum. Any questions, anything? Or we are good to wind up, right? So all the best to all you guys. May you soon turn into unicorns. Yes?
Wonderful. Thank you for having us.